Welcome back to the channel, JRX26 here, and I'm back with another video. This video is a guide on acquiring your very first full set of Ascended equipment. If you're level 80 and still working on upgrading your equipment to Ascended, then this video is for you. So let's get right into it. So what is Ascended equipment, and why should you want to upgrade your current equipment into Ascended? Ascended equipment is the highest powered equipment in the game. Legendary equipment is considered to be a tier higher than Ascended, but the total amount of stats and power is the same. Legendary equipment just has a lot of nice quality of life features to it, such as it can be equipped on every level 80 character on your account that can use that item type, and the stats can be swapped around for free. But Ascended armor is easier to attain than Legendary, so it's the next logical step in your gear progression. Also, Ascended equipment is account bound, so you can swap it around to other level 80 characters on your account if needed. I just want to mention quickly that you can actually swap the stats of Ascended equipment or armor in the Mystic Forge if needed by using this recipe right here. I have a quick guide on how to do this, and I'll link both the guide and the recipe in the description. Each piece of Ascended equipment also has one or more infusion slots. These are needed to add agony resistance to gear for progression in fractals, and in some cases you can actually add a small amount of stats to infusion slots for more overall power. So how do we go about acquiring Ascended equipment? There are actually a lot of different ways of getting Ascended items, but some ways are much faster and relatively cheaper than others, and your first full set is probably going to be your toughest to attain. But don't worry, you'll eventually start getting a lot more Ascended items in higher end gameplay. For example, I have boatloads of Ascended rings from fractal drops that I usually just salvage from materials, and have several unopened Ascended armor and weapon chests in my inventory. Okay, next I'm going to go into some of the many ways that you can acquire Ascended items. Then I'm going to go into more detail about how I recommend you go about attaining your first full set of Ascended equipment. So here are just some of the ways you can get Ascended equipment. Starting with crafting. You can craft Ascended weapons and armor as well as some backpacks. But you're going to need to be level 500 in the crafting discipline needed for which particular item you're crafting. For example, if you're playing a Heal Scourge and needed a full set of light armor as well as a dagger, torch, and warhorn for your build, you need to be level 500 in tailoring, weaponsmithing, huntsman, and artificing. Also, some of the steps in crafting Ascended equipment are time-gated, slowing down the speed at which you can get the crafts done. I don't personally craft my Ascended weapons and armor, but many people do, and it is a viable way to attain Ascended weapons and armor. If you decide to go this route, I would recommend using gw2.crafts.net to level your crafting efficiently, and I'll post a link below. Next up, World vs. World. You can acquire Ascended items for every gear slot in World vs. World. If you absolutely love World vs. World, this could be a viable option for you. But for the weapons and armor, it's going to cost you World v. World skirmish claim tickets, which are time gated, and it's also going to require that you complete a reward track to unlock the exotic version of the item first. So this method could take quite some time. On the upside, you could eventually upgrade the Ascended armor pieces to the legendary armor versions. If you're interested in this method, I have a great guide on my YouTube page on crafting World vs. World legendary armor, and I'll link that below for you also. You could similarly acquire Ascended equipment for every slot in ranked PvP, but a much smaller segment of the player base participates in this game mode. If you're one of the ones who love ranked PvP, then this is a great way for you to attain full Ascended equipment. The Ascended armor for PvP can also be upgraded to legendary armor like in World vs. World. Raiding is another game mode that offers a way to acquire Ascended equipment for every slot. You can purchase Ascended armor, weapons, and trinkets from the raid vendors with magnetite shards, which are earned from participating in raids. Raid bosses also can drop Ascended equipment boxes after defeating them. Additionally, you can receive a full armor set through doing the Envoy Armor 1 Experimental Armor Collection achievement. You can also attain Ascended equipment from running fractals. However, you need Ascended equipment to be able to progress through the higher tiers of fractals, and you earn more fractal currency and have a higher chance of getting dropped Ascended equipment at the higher tiers. There are also several other achievements and collections that reward you with various Ascended pieces, and I'll detail a few that I recommend in the next segment. Another possible way of acquiring Ascended is from world bosses. Some world bosses have a chance of dropping Ascended equipment chests. It's not very common, but it's a nice little reward when you get one. So here are my recommendations for acquiring your first full set of Ascended equipment. I'm going to break it down between trinkets, weapons, and armor, and I'll offer a few different ways of acquiring them that I feel are best for a new player. So let's start with trinkets. Trinkets are amulets, rings, and accessories. We will include back pieces into this section also. I recommend focusing first on upgrading trinkets to Ascended for a couple of reasons. Number 1, they're fairly easy and cheap to acquire. And 2, they actually have more power than the armor slots because they have more stats overall on them. So my first recommendation would be the Living World Season 3 maps. They are without a doubt one of the best ways of getting Ascended trinkets. Each map has its own currency and a vendor that sells stat selectable Ascended trinkets for Unbound Magic and some of the map's specific currency. You just need to go around one of the maps and collect Unbound Magic in that map's currency, then use both to purchase the Ascended trinkets from the Unbound Magic vendor in that zone. One thing to note is that these trinkets are typically unique, which means only one of each can be equipped. For example, if you get the Blood Ruby Band from Bloodstone Fen, then you have to equip a different ring in the other ring slot. Speaking of the Bloodstone Fen, here's a little tip. If you get the Bloodstone trinkets from this map, you can also pick up the Bloodstone Capacitor off of the same vendor, which lets you stat swap these trinkets if you feel like changing them down the road. Here's another tip. I strongly recommend that you start to work on this achievement right here, the Season of Dragons achievement. It takes a while but offers a legendary amulet at the end and a ton of really valuable rewards while you're working your way through it. Some of which are full stacks of the Living World Season map currencies, which will help equipping you out with Ascended trinkets from these maps. Living World Season 4 maps also have vendors in which you can buy Ascended trinkets from. Their selection is not quite as good as the Living World Season 3 maps, but this is an option as well for a few trinkets if needed. Additionally, you can also acquire a full stack of the map currencies from the Season of Dragons achievements that I had just mentioned. Laurel vendors. Laurel vendors are another great way of getting Ascended trinkets. You get laurels from the Wizard's Vault as well as from the achievement point rewards. You could then visit any laurel vendor and trade them for Ascended trinkets. Here's a quick tip. If you like to play World vs. World, you can purchase Ascended trinkets from the laurel vendor there on a discount using Badges of Honor. Lastly, fractals. You can run Tier 1 fractals even before you have Ascended equipment for the Agony Resistance. Fractals are a great place to pick up cheap Ascended rings early as they drop fairly often and really cheap to buy with the fractal currency. Okay, on to weapons. Luckily, with the introduction of the Wizard's Vault, we have a pretty quick way of getting our first Ascended weapon. You can buy an Ascended weapon box from the Wizard's Vault. It costs 600 Astral Acclaim and it's one of the best buys in the vault, particularly if you're new and don't have any Ascended weapons yet. Definitely grab this out of the vault. Another fairly quick way of getting an Ascended weapon is by completing the Knight of Thorn achievement if you've completed the Heart of Thorn storyline. I won't give you any story spoilers, but I'll link this wiki guide to the achievement down below so you can follow it if you like. After doing the achievement, you will be able to pick either a stat selectable Ascended sword, dagger, scepter, shield, or a greatsword. You're even able to switch to another Ascended weapon later if you like. Next up, the Season of Dragons achievement again. You can also get a free Ascended weapon box from the Season of Dragons achievement I showed you earlier. Definitely work on this achievement, the rewards are fantastic. Lastly, each elite specialization has a collection for an Ascended weapon. These are usually fairly easy to complete, particularly the Path of Fire and End of Dragon specializations. The elite specialization weapons also have unique skins and many of them are very cool looking. I'll leave a link to the wiki page down below where you can pick your class's elite weapon, then follow the collection to get your Ascended weapon. Alright, so trinkets and weapons are out of the way. Time to get your Ascended armor. And guess what? Again, the Wizard Vault makes things a lot easier. You can now get 3 Ascended armor boxes from the Wizard's Vault. They cost 400 Astral Acclaim each, which you get fairly quickly from completing the daily, weekly, and special achievements. Definitely grab all of these. They're another top tier buy from the Wizard's Vault. So this will just leave you with needing just 3 more pieces to finish off your full first armor set. For the last 3 pieces, I would recommend strikes for most people. The majority of strikes are very beginner friendly and easy to get into a group for. If you're in a guild that likes to do group content, go with them, or join a pickup group. Go under the Looking for Group tab and look under Strikes. If you're new to Strikes, click on the Training tab. There are groups doing strikes that are beginner friendly several times a day. From doing any of the Ice Brood Saga or Ender Dragon Strikes, you receive blue Prophet Shards, and you could trade these in for Ascended Armor. The cheapest ones are the boots, gloves, and shoulders. So I would recommend getting the chest, legs, and helm pieces from the Wizard Vault boxes so you can get your full set of Ascended Armor cheaper from the Strike Vendor. One last tip, you know that Season of the Dragons achievement I've been talking about? Well, guess what? You can earn blue Prophet Shards needed for the Ascended equipment from the Strike Vendor from those achievements also. So again, definitely work on this achievement. It is well worth your effort. Okay guys, those are the main ways I recommend going about getting your first full set of Ascended equipment. If you prefer to use some of the other methods such as crafting or raiding, by all means go for it. But the ways I highlighted are in my opinion the best ways for most new players. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like for the algorithm and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos. Also, I've recently started a Patreon because I am now full-time content creating. If you'd like to help support me and continue to make videos like this, you could be among my first supporters. Okay guys, I will see you in the next one.